Hello, Edward, and hello, everybody, and welcome to another digital leader salon with me, Simon Valfish.
And me, Edward Rushton.
It's such a pleasure to see you again, Edward, and
likewise.
It's so much fun to meet every week, talk about some of our favourite songs that we've recorded, and dissect them a little bit, take them apart, put them back together again, and hopefully share with our listeners and viewers some insights. And we invite you to always get in touch with us. We love to hear from you. We love to know you're there. And we would like to know what you would like us to talk about. So have a listen to our catalogue and pick a song, send us an email or a message, and we will devote an episode to your choice at some point in the future. You can support this project by sharing this video, subscribing to our YouTube channels, even buying a CD directly from us, which we'll gladly sign for you. You can also donate via PayPal, but most importantly, we want you to enjoy the music. So please stay until the end of the video, where there'll be a link to click through to the song that we're talking about. Edward, what song are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to talk about two songs, actually, by the Swiss composer Arthur Honegger, otherwise known as Arthur Honegger. And I don't know how many of our listeners are familiar with Switzerland or the Swiss language culture, but I'm sure everyone will know that Switzerland is a country where many languages are spoken, sometimes at the same time. Honegger, or Honegger, as he's better known in England because we know him as a French composer through his association with the Groupe des Six in the 1920s, was actually Swiss. As I said, his parents came from Zurich and they were German-speaking Swiss. So, as we know, Arthur Honegger was actually, he grew up as Honegger and speaking the Zurich form of German.
For those of us who don't know about the Zurich form of German, would you kindly give us an example, Edward? Direct from the heart of Switzerland, where you are right now.
Well, I'm quite embarrassed about this because I'm not very good at Schweizerdeutsch, Swiss German. I lived in Zurich for more than 20 years, but never really dared try and speak the local language. And I now live in a completely different part of Switzerland where they dislike anything that's tainted with the brush of Zurich. So I'd be quite embarrassed to actually come up with some speech. My daughters, of course, speak the Zurich form of German, so I'm not allowed to say anything bad about it. Also, der Arthur Honegger ist Schweizer Komponist gsi. Seine Eltern sind von Zürich gekommen, aber der Honegger selber ist in Paris gsi und hat in Paris komponiert und so weiter und so fort.
Great, hilarious. We shouldn't joke about it, but I do think have to say it's totally ridiculous how such a small country like Switzerland, they can be so unbelievably xenophobic about their fellow Swiss, even to the point where if you turn up speaking with an accent or a dialect from a city that's about 40 kilometers away, people somehow think you're an idiot. I mean, come on, Swiss, get over it. Maybe it's because they've been neutral all this time. They're just looking for a fight wherever they can get one.
I think you might be looking for a fight, actually.
Yeah, I feel like I am, actually. I feel like this is going to get edited out. If it doesn't get edited out, Edward, you know that our ratings are going down, and I'm trying to get things zinged up a bit. Turns out leader nerds, can be politically aggressive too, you know. Make leader great again, Edward.
Yeah, that's right, definitely. Now listen, Simon, shut up and listen, okay. Because we're talking about a Swiss composer, so of course we have to talk about money. Because in Switzerland, so people are very interested in money. And there's a thing that is relevant to our discussion today, because Arthur Honegger featured up until very recently on the 20 franc banknote. So it was mixed feelings when I would buy something, pay for something with a 20 franc note, because I would be happy about seeing the friendly face of Honegger on the note and looking at some of his music, which is printed on the banknote, but also feel sad about having to depart from him, having to part with him and say goodbye till next time I have a 20 franc note. Anyway, so I've managed actually to preserve for posterity one of these 20-franc banknotes with Honegger on it.
Have you got it there?
They don't exist anymore. They've gone out of circulation, so this is it.
Can you bring it to the camera?
I can show you. That's him. That's our friend. Today we're going to talk about two of his songs, so much smaller scale works, obviously. Now, we recorded these songs a few years ago on our disc of French songs on Nimbus. 2 weeks ago, we talked about one of the other songs on this disc, the Fable of the Wolf and the Lamb by André Caplet. And today we've chosen two of the songs by Honegger, and they are from different cycles, actually. One of the songs is to a text by Guillaume Apollinaire, and the other song is to a text by Paul Faure, but they're both to do with bells, so that's why we've chosen these two songs. And let's start with the song called Les Cloches, the bells. It's the last song of the 6 poems of Guillaume Apollinaire. So Simon, tell us about this song.
Les Cloches, yeah, Apollinaire. This is such a wonderful poem. Mon beau tzigane, mon amant, écoute les cloches qui sonnent, my beautiful Romany boy, my lover. Listen to the sound of the bells. We lost ourselves in our love for each other, and we didn't believe we were seen by anybody. But we didn't hide that well. All of the bells around watched us up in the bell tower, and they told the whole world. Demain, Cyprien et Henri, Marie, Ursule et Catherine, la boulangère et son mari, et puis Gertrude, ma cousine. Oh no. So tomorrow, Cyprien, Henri, Marie, Ursule, Catherine, la boulangère, the baker, and the baker's husband, and worst of all, that blooming Gertrude, my cousin. Oh, she's such a pain. All of these people are going to be smiling as I pass them by. I won't know where to put myself. Je ne saurai plus où me mettre. Tu seras loin. Je pleurerai. You will be far away. And I will cry. I might even die, perhaps. My beautiful lover, listen to those bells. And that's the poem. I'm not sure if the original poem repeats Mon beau tzigane, mon amant, but Honegger repeats that.
Yeah, I've got it here. Hang on a sec.
Okay.
No, it doesn't. It ends at Jean mourrait peut-être. So, in fact, yeah, interesting. So Apollinaire ends it with this very different feel to it, isn't it? Because she says, if the girl who's singing says, tomorrow you will be far, far away, and I'll be so sad that maybe I'll die. And that's how the poem ends. But Honegger goes back to the beginning, goes back to this incredible feast of bell noise. And it really is a noisy song.
Let's hear some of those bells, Edward. How many thousands of bells all clanging away? So am I right in understanding this poem that she's making love in the bell tower with this young lad?
I don't think actually in the bell tower, because that would kill you, as we know from the Dorothy Sayers novel, The Nine Tailors, which was the way that the victim got murdered, by being tied into a bell tower when the bells went off. No, but they're nearby. They can hear, you can imagine a village in France near the River Rhine. It's set near the Rhine, because this comes from a group of poems by Apollinaire called Rhenish poems. So they're in a village. You can imagine them making love in a hayfield, or in a haystack, or in a barn, or somewhere like that. But of course, the bells are going crazy in the village, and this is something that you can hear, and it just sort of mixes up with the joyful lovemaking. This incredible, rich, and kind of all-consuming bell sound. The piano writing, it uses every register and every note of the diatonic scale, and it really gets into your ears. It's like the bells are ringing in your head almost. I feel, Also because he's written all this noise for the piano, and the vocal line is not very high. It's quite low and middle register. A lot of text. It's a balance problem when you perform the song. That's for sure. So it's like the bells completely kind of flooding this girl's body and mind and words. So it's lovely because you get the religious and the erotic mixing together in a very beautiful way.
The best mixture, I find.
Well,
but it is true. It is like an all-encompassing. It is floodingly erotic somehow, as you described that with the full range of the piano, and then you have the voice. You've just got this. You're just singing around that, and those arpeggios. Nous nous aimions éperdument, criant n'être vu de personne. And then let's go on. What happens when we're suddenly talking about, but actually we didn't hide ourselves very well.
That's right. Now, Simon, I want to ask you a question here. Does this bit of the song where there's this list, a list of all the people who the bells have told their secret to, does this remind you of anything else?
Yes, it reminds me of, this is a good quiz, Edward. Schumann Opus 40. Was that the question, the answer you were looking for? Yeah, because in the last song of Schumann Opus 40, I can't remember the poet, Camiso, and it's exactly this. It's they're kissing, the two lovers, or the two lovers are making love, and they think they're hidden very well, but actually the stars saw them, and one star fell down into the sea, and the sea told the oar, and the oar told the fisherman, and the fisherman told his wife, and now all the children in the choir are singing about their love.
So it's I love songs with lists. We have to find a list song which involves a list. That would be an interesting program choice.
I did one of these horrendous. Have you been doing quiz? Do you do quizzes in Switzerland on Zoom during lockdown, or is that not really a thing?
I don't know about that now.
Honestly, oh my goodness, the quizzes that I've been involved with. But there was one music quiz where they had guess the composer based on emojis, and there was an emoji of a pencil and some drawing, and I was thinking pencil, and I was like notes art. Could it be Mozart, but with an N? Anyway, then, so I wrote down Mozart, ? Totally stupid. And I was the only musician on this quiz. I had a lot of expectation. Anyway, it was Liszt, of course. So that, talk about overthinking. Okay, let's get back to work.
Yeah, you tell us about this list. The list of all the people who now know about these lovers.
Yeah, so tomorrow, demain, Cyprien. Cyprien, I don't know how you'd anglify that name. Henry, Marie, Ursula, and Catherine, and the baker and her husband, and then my cousin Gertrude. Those are all the people who this girl does not want to find out about her liaison with this sexy boy.
How does Honegger set this list?
Well, you've got this which sounds like people going, oh, did you know that she was up there with the bear? Oh, she wasn't, was she? Oh, I knew she was the type, you know.
But in a sort of Swiss French accent.
It's gossip music, yeah.
Gossip music. Let's play us the gossip music, Edward. Oh, so cool.
So it gets more intense, more higher and higher, and then he ramps up the intensity, and as more and more people, sort of this exponential, how the gossip spreads through the village, until everyone knows about it. You can really hear that in the music. It sort of gets wider and wider, and the voice gets higher and higher in these whole tone scales. Yeah, it's fantastic.
One of my favorite bits of this song is just about to come up, where let's try and sing it together. I think I can edit this together. Tu seras loin, je pleurerai, j'en mourrai peut-être. It's almost like peut-être is an afterthought. Tu seras loin, you'll be far away, I will cry, I might even die. Maybe. J'en mourrai peut-être. She's already possibly thinking, well, you know what? I reckon a couple of months' time, a new crew, it's a bit like the Pagliaccio, isn't it? The traveling circus. He's come along, he's gone to the next village, he's probably already, as she's singing this song, found himself another girl in the next village. But on the other hand, am I going to die, or am I just going to wait for the next one?
Yeah.
Is that a coarse, horrible, damning interpretation?
No, not at all. That's exactly what happens. She's obviously someone who enjoys erotic encounters, and the next one's coming along, and Honegger actually even puts it in for us. So it's like this little. Maybe I'm going to be sad about this, but actually, come next Sunday. It's going to happen again. There'll be someone else, and we'll be having a wonderful time in the hay while the bell's ringing.
Do you know what I remember so vividly now as you play it is sitting with you in the booth after when we recorded this in the beautiful studio down in Wyerstone in Monmouthshire, and when you play that last chord, if you shake your head whilst listening to it with surround speakers, it's an epically amazing feeling. Why don't you just do that one more time, the last bar? And if you're watching this on your own in lockdown, or with speakers better than headphones, just shake your head from side to side on Edward's last chord, and you'll sense that real feeling of the bells going whoa, 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 whoa. That's something you can't do in a concert. Maybe there's an advantage now to digital concerts, digital performances. You're on your own, you don't even have to put pants on, and you can sit there shaking your head like this all you like. Oh, I can't wait to do a concert again, Edward. How about you? Well, you're already doing concerts, aren't you?
Well,
Okay, should we talk about, is that enough of the cloche? Should we talk about cloche du soir?
yeah, let's talk about Cloche du soir.
I don't know how we're going to get this video going. I tell you what, if you've had enough of us talking about it and you'd like to listen to the music, if you're watching this on YouTube, there should be right about now, somewhere over there, a little thing coming up on the screen where you can click straight to the YouTube link of this song. So we'll say goodbye to those of you who want to go watch that. And thank you for staying for the other people. And we're going to talk about Cloche du soir. Edward.
Yeah, so Cloche du soir, yeah, as I said, this is a poem by another French poet who used to be much more famous. Of course, Apollinaire is very, very well known even now because through his association with the Surrealists and just because he was a complete crazy genius. Paul Fort has kind of dropped out of fashion, but he wrote massive amounts of poetry. And so yeah, Honegger set 3 of these poems, and the Cloche du soir is a completely different sort of bell piece in a way, but maybe not so different after all, because when we talk about the mix of Catholicism and eroticism, you get that kind of here as well. But it's a very peaceful evening sound picture of the Angelus, the evening bell, sounding its way across the countryside. And the poet is filled with this sense of peace. And he imagines that the 2 bells swinging also are analog to the sign of the cross on his forehead. And so anyway, he describes the sounds and the landscape of the evening, and how then the bell sounds gradually die away, but they remain in his heart and inform his destiny. So it's a very beautiful, almost like a contemplation, a sort of religious contemplation. The man alone in nature being infused with thoughts of peace and thinking about eternity. And it's a beautiful soundscape that Honegger has given us. I suppose you could call it impressionist if you want to label things like that, because he spends a lot of time bathing in a sound without any sense of any necessity to move around too much. He just spends a lot of time enjoying the gorgeous soundscape. In a way, that's similar to the song we talked about, Les Cloches, because he spends a lot of bars in the same chord. But here it's a very different feel. So let me just play some of the opening of the song.
Ce soir-là, vraiment, tout était si paisible.
And so on and so on. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bars, 7 of those units next to each other, before he changes to. And she does for 4 bars before it changes. And then he's into a different gorgeous sonority to describe the evening light.
La lumière de l'ombre, the light of the shadow, est ce halo de lune, and the halo of the moon. Le son de l'Angélus et leur mystique appel, the sound of the evening bells and the mystical calling, pours charity into the soul. So it's so warming and fulfilling and calming and comforting. And it's beautifully, beautifully written. Again, also using the whole range of the piano, just like in the other song, but in a much more calm, beautiful way.
So there's something about this passage, about the evening light passage, that I love, because it's just so gorgeous to play. And he uses one of my favorite chords of all time, one of the top 10 best chords ever, which is the augmented 11th, if you want to give it a name. We like to give things names, it helps. And it sounds like this. It's that. We had it at the beginning with the persistent sharp 4th degree of the scale that we had at the beginning that I played earlier. Without it doesn't have the 7th in it. Now he puts the 7th in. We have the tritone feel, but also the. And then he goes up the scale.
What I would love to point out is, on top of that, just on the second bar, you have this G sharp and in your left hand, but I have to sing a semitone against you. Ce soir-là, vraiment, tout était si paisible.
Yes.
How amazing is that?
But then you go down with the G natural, and I stay on my G sharp. So you have this incredible embrace of chromatic notes.
But isn't that also this feeling of, when you have bells and they're not quite, the pitch does kind of waver slightly.
Yeah, it wobbles, yeah.
And he's written laissez vibrer, let it vibrate in your piano part as well. And it's just
Can I just ask you something, Simon?
You can ask me anything, Edward.
I will ask you the following, a very leading question. How amazing, exactly, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is the most amazing, is the feeling you get when you sing a descending scale, A, G, F, and your pianist is playing a G sharp in the middle. So you and you know that note is penetrating your melody right in the middle, isn't it? It's cleaving your diatonic melody in two with a chromatic intervention. How good is that feeling?
Very good. Good question, Edward.
So like 9 out of 10 or?
Yeah, I give it a 9 out of 10, Edward. Thank you for asking that. I would definitely say that it's really satisfying and fun to have the challenge to pin down your notes so exactly, especially when it's right next to it on the frequency of the note from the piano. So when you have to find this semitone and really commit to it.
I want to talk a bit about the end of the song, but first, I wonder if we've touched on something quite interesting here. I mean, we talked about in Les Cloches as well, there's the mixture of religion, let's say, because we have the presence, very overwhelming presence of the church. We can hear these clanging bells, and here in the Cloche du soir, we can hear the beautiful evening bell sound. But these sounds evoke very erotic feelings in the poets. And you get this mixture. I mean, in this poem, yeah, it's not explicitly erotic, but he's talking about the sound filling him, which you could say is a yeah, you could say.
I'm not going to help you, Edward. Keep going.
Yeah, thanks.
What are you trying to say, Edward? That he's being penetrated by the sound of the bells.
And the thing is that the sound of the bells, it merges into him, into the poet. It becomes part of him and informs his destiny, he says at the end. So I think it is a rather erotic picture that the poet's given us, even if it's not explicit as it is in the other poem we talked about. And I think you get this I think Honegger has given us a very good response, a musical response to this idea in both poems. So we talked about in the Les Cloches, the way the vocal line is in the middle of the sound, and it's not placed above the sound accompaniment and voice, but it's all merged into each other. And it's the same here. Your line goes in and out of the bell sounds in very meandering, dreamy way. And the vocal line is always in the middle of that sound, as if it's become part of him. And I think that the thing about the semitone is a very intense moment where you feel that because he's entered a very, very private space. The sound of the bells has entered an extremely private, gone where it should not go, with a G sharp in the key of D major. Okay, so that just occurred to me there, that maybe this is a Catholic thing. There are a lot of Catholic songs that are very, what do you call it, when it's full of double entendres and stuff. Think about Hugo Wolf's Italian songbook, for example, where there's so many songs that have this incredible balancing act between religious devotion and sexual love. Now, at the end of the song, Honegger takes the bell sounds of the beginning and even goes one step further, and we have waves where in the beginning, as you heard, there's bells, bells, bells in this sort of static motion. At the end of the song, he's woven in two other elements into that tapestry. One is a sort of arpeggio wave motif in the piano's left hand, which combines the bells and the melody. There's two motifs within that arpeggio that we've heard before, and while the vocal line again declaims these extremely contemplative words. You also hear a melody in the piano's right hand. So it's an absolutely intoxicating tapestry of melodies and sonorities.
It's one of these piano parts which work absolutely beautifully without the singer getting in the way, isn't it? I mean, there are some songs which almost don't need the singer. That was so beautiful, and I could imagine that just being part of a solo piano work, or maybe it's just the way you play it, Edward.
You know, it's a gorgeous piece of piano writing in itself. But if you hear it then with the words and the melody and the vocal line, because you've got also when you have the vocal line as well, there is another element that's definitely missing from that sound tapestry, because you have the motion of the vocal line goes completely independently of any of those melodies or accompanimental figures in the piano, and it goes up and down completely at will, as if in a trance. And then you have this beautiful C natural, Simon, which we would be missing, which we would sorely miss if we didn't hear the vocal line there. Va planter sur mon
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Let's hear the last two bars, Edward.
Yeah. And this is one of these weird, typical kind of French 1920s. Let me get this right. It's actually, this song was composed in 1916, and it's sort of, he goes all Satie. You know, you've had this wash of colors and so on, but then he goes all austere. So there's this sudden kind of strange, slightly pained prayer. Just the very simple chords, the very unexpected intrusion of other keys into that, and you get a lot of that in Poulenc as well. It's a trick that he enjoyed doing.
Poulenc was another emoji question. You can imagine what the first bit of the emoji. But you know what? I guessed Puccini, because it was a poo emoji, and then a sort of chains. So I thought Puccini, but it was Poulenc. Honestly, that was half an hour of my life I'm never getting back. But yes, great, Edward. Is there anything left to say? I think we should just invite our listeners to go and click away and listen to this song.
Yeah, we could. Just one thing that's probably interesting. Okay. It's just a minor biographical detail. Both these song cycles were written in 1916, 1917, 1918. At the same time as, of course, the First World War was in full spate, where one of our poets today, Guillaume Apollinaire, was fighting and wounded. And he went home with a shrapnel wound and was very weakened, and in fact died in 1918 of the Spanish flu. As you know, we're talking about these pandemics and epidemics a lot at the moment, and there's a lot of comparing our current disease that's going around the world with the Spanish flu, so-called, of 1918. And Apollinaire was actually a victim of that. So there's a nice little link.
Exactly. We're closing the circle on the global pandemics.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, gosh, poor old Apollinaire.
The Caplet also was gassed in the First World War. We talked about Caplet 2 weeks ago, and he didn't die, but he was extremely... his body was completely wrecked by a gas attack in the trenches in the First World War. And in fact, there's another song on the French song CD that we recorded all those years ago by Caplet, a very short song composed actually while fighting in the First World War in the trenches in 1916. And that's called Quand reverrai-je hélas? When will I see my beloved homeland again? We hope you enjoy listening to these two songs that we've been talking about today by Arthur Honegger, and also all the other songs on our extremely interesting and colorful disc of French music from that period. Simon, thank you very much for talking to me today about these songs, and see you next week.
Thank you very much, Edward. It's such fun to chat to you, and we look forward to receiving your requests. We have a couple coming up, so stay tuned. We're going to be talking about Huldigung, a setting by Strauss. We're going to be comparing that to Brahms' Bitteres zu sagen denkst du, which is an adaptation of the same poem by Hafiz. Okay. So that's it. So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channels, and please share these videos. Please also, if you would like to support us, we would be most grateful. At this difficult time, we're not doing concerts, and as a result, we're not really earning any money. But I understand very much that you, listener, may be in a very similar situation. But if you're rolling in it and you would like to give some of us it, that would be great. You can pay us a donation on PayPal, and the link to the PayPal is below. And you can also buy a signed CD from us. And what else can you do? That's it. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh, yeah, and listen to the song that you're about to hear. That's going to be a link to it right about now. Thanks, Edward. Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
Simon. Bye.
See you next week.